Hi, everyone. I'm Laurel Morris with Z Prime, and it's a great pleasure to be here today with Linda Mattis to talk about customer-centric utility innovation. Linda, it seems like you've faced almost every side of the utility business as an executive, from nuclear management, finance to customer operations. So I'm very looking forward to hearing about your stories from Alliant Energy and other utilities today. Um,
Should be
I'd love
fun.
to hear. Thank you. How have you seen customer utility relationships evolved in your career?
Well, I think utilities in general thought about how do we deliver a good product, and really didn't think about how does the customer receive that product, interface with us. And I think that has evolved. It probably needs to evolve even further. But I think we're starting to look at it more from how does the customer consume what we provide, and what are ways for us to provide better service to the customer in the way they want it and where they want it.
Interesting. What are you seeing as the primary driving forces in customer innovation? Like why is this important for utilities?
Well, I think it's kind of a bit of keeping up with the Joneses now that you have so much technology out there that the customer interfaces with on a social media perspective, on a purchasing perspective. And I think the pandemic did nothing but emphasize that. Um, you got to be more Amazon like. And I think you have to look at who provides that experience to customers that they like, um, without overwhelming the customer. And I think one of the reasons Amazon is so successful is the simplicity. They provide me a product in a very simple way. I don't have to worry about the logistics and how they're going to get that box of crackers to me. That's what they worry about. I worry about order and when am I going to get it? And I don't have to worry about anything else. I don't have to worry they have a credit card on there, so I don't have to punch it in every time. So when you think about that Amazon experience, I don't think Amazon has the sexiest of websites, but I do think they have one of the simplest. And I think that is driving companies in and outside of the utility industry to be more Amazon like. For lack of better words, it's providing customers a simplistic way to interface with you on what they want to interface with you. I think utilities sometimes think, oh, a customer wants to set up their computer and manage their furnace or air conditioner all day long to maximize or minimize the cost. And in reality, I don't believe any customer wants to do that. I think what they're looking for is what's the simplest way you can provide me the lowest cost product in an easy way for me to interface so it doesn't consume my time. So I think we're really striving for that. And as a utility industry, we like to make things complex. Uh, and so I think it's a challenge for utilities to really look at that simplicity of how you provide communications to your customers.
Absolutely. And customers only have a certain attention time frame, especially in this economy. So do you have any examples of customer innovations you've seen or implemented in the past?
Well, we've done several things that customers see is we installed a new mobile app and a new web application for our customer interface. And historically, our website and our mobile app did not match. So it was a different experience. Getting those to be the same experience. So whether you're on your phone or your computer, you don't have to think differently about what you're doing with Alliant as a corporation or any utility. But those applications really simplified it for customers. You can put your credit card number in and have auto pay. That was another thing that we did. We allowed customers to use credit cards. If you use our electronic mediums, then you can use a credit card with no fee. And historically, utilities, by regulation, had to charge a fee for the use of credit cards. So there are multiple things that we did. And the pandemic even drove us to take our SEW application and work with SEW to put in payment arrangements that customers could do without calling in. And that started the first day of the pandemic, and we got that installed in less than 30 days where customers could do that. And our customers, it takes, every customer wants to be able to pay. It's embarrassing not to be able to pay, and to have to call and talk to somebody about it even makes it more embarrassing. So having things incorporated into our app that allow a customer to have dignity at the same time, I think have been really important. That's a big one for our customers. We've also done a lot in the background with bots to simplify how you interface with us and to make it quicker and speedier on the billing side as well as the call center side.
That's fascinating. And you're talking about making things more affordable and accessible. How do you ensure an equitable digital transition for utility customer service and not leave customers behind?
I think the reality is not all customers are created equal. And I think you're going to have to realize that we still have customers who do like that face-to-face or voice-to-voice experience. And some of that, I think there's some correlation with age and what people are comfortable with. But there are even some people who are very young who like to call versus use their web or mobile app. So I think you're going to have to be realistic about, you cannot do a one size fits all and provide every customer with the experience they want. But I also think you have to be realistic in how much can the customer afford. And part of all of this is driving cost out of the business, which ultimately drives either less rate increases for customers or lowering of rates to customers. So really balancing all of that with what the customers need, and being able to go look at the personas out there and provide service, maybe up to 10 personas, that how they want it and where they want it.
Right. And to utilities that are lagging on the customer communications and are stuck in the status quo, what advice would you give to them? Because I think everyone has to start at a place of being in the status quo and in the past.
You know, it's really hard, because one of the things that I think is important is you cannot have 50 different disparate systems across your platform. That makes it very difficult. And I think as utilities, we try to buy best in class software, which means I want the best call center app. I want the best outage system. And at some point, you're going to have to look at, how do we put all this together? And this is not something the customer cares about, but they do care about experience and the ease of use. And having a single platform, I think, is going to become more important. So I would encourage utilities to stop always looking for best in class and having 30 or 40 different software systems that you have to interface in order for the customer experience to be good, because chances are it's going to diminish the customer experience. So I'd start by saying, think about what you have for platforms that interface with the customer. How do you integrate those that it makes it a better experience for the customer? That would be number one. And number two is move, because the world is moving at a pace that utilities are not familiar with, nor are they comfortable with. And we like to be 100% confident everything is right. And sometimes you're going to have to move before you get there. And I think we tend to look at and rightfully so. You don't want customers without power. You don't want any disruption in the gas business or the water business. But at the same time, you've got to not overthink everything and start to move, because I think if you don't, it's very difficult. Most utilities use a waterfall approach to installing software, which really is time consuming. And if you're going to continue with waterfall, everything takes about 2 years to get implemented and running. So you're going to have to look at using an agile method for installation to make that process quicker and find mistakes quicker. And for those who aren't familiar with those two, I'd encourage you to look them up, because if you're in customer operations, you need to understand the IT part of your business. So those are a few things I encourage people to do. Understand the IT side of the business, consolidate your platform to make the customer experience better, and move. You've got to start to move.
So it's a lot about simplicity, and then it sounds like not only communications with customers, but also communications within your own utility and all coming together.
And I think sometimes that's the harder part is as a customer advocate, it's not always easy to sell internally why you want to move in a direction. And one thing we had done is we had worked with SCW on a landlord portal, because we do have a lot of colleges and you have this burst of moving in and moving out at the beginning and end of the school year. And but we brought in landlords and we talked to them about, what do you want? And I don't know that we've done a lot of that in our design process to understand that customer experience, and versus, I think the landlord wants this. And we did that initially. And then we brought them in to kind of look at our beta, and they're like, oh no, that's not what we want. So it was a realization that we really have to have customers part of the development process.
100%. And it's been a pleasure talking to you today. And we look forward to the WE3 Summit in November coming up. Do you have any final parting words, or can you let the audience know where they can reach you?
Well, I am on LinkedIn, Linda Mattis. But my parting words would be, don't be afraid. What a fun time to be in this industry when you can truly recreate that experience for the customer and make it something that's enjoyable for them, and leave your utility and your business in a shining light with that customer. Because at some point in time, whether we're competing with people putting solar panels on a roof with batteries and an all-inclusive home that can disconnect from the grid, or whether we're competing with the utility next door, you are competing. You're competing for financing. You're competing for so much out there. And if you don't move, all of those things are going to suffer. So really think about, how do you move, and how do you get your internal peers to understand how important that is for the business. And I think having meetings where we can all get together and talk about it, I think is very helpful, because I think most people who will come to the summit in November really want the same things and are trying to figure out, how do we get there? So I think it'll be very helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laurel. Have a great day.
You too.